I wanted to talk about dating. The first thing I have to address is what you're probably asking yourselves right now, and that's, Bromley, why the would we listen to you talk about dating? You're a pear-shaped, overweight ginger who's balding. You moved to San Antonio and you gave yourself permanent rosacea. You're not the 6'3" Giga Chad with the square jaw and the beard line that goes up to your eyeballs. What do you have to tell us about dating? Well, actually, you are dead right on all of those points, and that's exactly why you're going to listen to me. Because just like my journey through weightlifting, starting as a very pathetic excuse of a human physical specimen who would get pushed around on the football field in high school, all the way up to somebody who grinded for a lot of years to get good, the thing that made me good at lifting and dating were strategies that can be used by anybody. Now, does that mean you're going to have my success or everybody else's success? No, but it is a pretty guaranteed way to leave yourself better off than where you started. And if you can demonstrate that you have the capacity to make a small improvement, you can stack those wins together over a long period of time. And eventually, 10, 20 years down the line, you look back at your life now and think, oh my God, my life could have gone such a shittier way if I just sat on the couch and didn't do anything. The brief rundown of my dating woes: I had a girlfriend in high school. I dumped her because I wanted to spend my teenage years playing Halo with my friends, and I thought getting a girlfriend's easy. When I got out of high school and had to navigate the shark-infested waters of early 20s dating, I realized that that was not my scene. It didn't play to my strong suits. I had a hard time socializing with people I didn't know. There was always a buffer from when I would talk to somebody to where I would feel comfortable enough to demonstrate charisma or knowledge or confidence, and that shot me in the foot. So many years went by, I ended up jumping on the first thing that came around, which led to a really bad marriage that lasted just over a year. And after that, I realized, not wanting to do that again, that if I didn't date a sufficient number of people, that I wasn't going to be able to find the compatible person that I would spend the rest of my life with. So I committed to finding a system so that I could reliably date enough women in order to have my pick in, so I didn't have to settle for the first thing that came around. Fast forward to the end, and I am with this lovely lady right now. This is my wife, who is not only more attractive and funnier than I am, she is more well-liked by all of our friends than I am. She gets high praise from every job that she works. She always gets awards for her work ethic, for her brilliance, for her ingenuity. And she is somebody that I am very proud to spend my life with and raise children with. Now, this, again, isn't just I found a partner, therefore listen to me about dating. I found my partner because of all the things I implemented that allowed me to wait it out so that I found somebody that I was compatible with. And boy, am I glad I did. So I'm going to get to the strategies I use at the end of the video. But first, we got to talk about your framework, your mindset. We got to talk about some other things. We're going to go over what dating actually is. There's a whole bunch of assumptions and expectations that go into it, and part of the space right now I think is really fucking things up for everybody. And I'm going to explain how your mindset is not only really lame and rooted in a victim mentality, but it's actually counterproductive. It's going to make you bitter and resentful, and it's not going to attract the type of person you want. So let's talk about the first thing, what dating actually is. This is going to be one of the most important things that many of you will hear. This is something I wish I learned earlier, because it would have changed the entire way I looked at everything. And it would have been an easier way to manage the anxiety and the stress that I felt when it came to interacting with females. Dating is not a manic attempt to spread your seed. Dating is not you finding somebody who's like the last chance you have to reproduce and have children, and then taking all of that like high tense MacGyver diffusing a bomb pressure and putting it onto the other person. You need to look at dating for what it is. It is socializing. When you go on a date with somebody, it is an agreement that, hey, maybe there's something here. Let's go talk about it. It is not an agreement to go home and bang you. It is not an agreement to be the one true love that's going to solve all your problems. Dating is socializing. It is an opportunity for you to be around somebody else, to learn something about them, in the process, to refine the skill of talking to other people, practice your conversation skills, practice being kind of an upstanding man that's capable of presenting an air of excellence and security. And it's going to like reinforce your ability with people in general. See, I think one of the things that plagues a lot of people as the world gets less and less social is that when you're in that situation, we find it very hard to act and we don't know how to engage with other people. I struggled with that immensely because I had this voice in the back of my head that was reminding me of how important this was. It was a voice of desperation. Now, the thing is, nobody wants to deal with desperate females. Desperate females are the worst. They're clingy. They're needy. They need constant validation and attention. They're sitting there like shaking chihuahuas that you have to like pet and tell that everything's going to be okay. It's not a good deal for anybody involved. The thing is, guys, desperate men are way worse. And I say that as a former desperate man. See, your job isn't just to fake security. It's not just to find what you think confidence looks like and then do your really bad improv job of presenting that to a bunch of other people. Your job is to remove the stress, remove the pressure, understand what you're doing there. By virtue of going on a lot of dates, meeting a lot of people, you're going to improve your skill, you're going to learn what you want, and eventually you'll be in a position to actually start a meaningful long-term relationship. But if you go in thinking that this is it or that I have to close, you're going to be that exact same needy, shaking chihuahua. People can smell it on you. They will punish you for it. So step one, get rid of the fucking desperation. And the only way you do that is by changing your expectations. You are not there to sign a contract that's going to lock you in for the rest of your life. And you can't act like getting laid right now is somehow the most important thing to you. Almost go in like it's platonic. I'm not going to tell you to go in and start negging and giving Indian rug burns right off the bat to try and treat them like they're your little sister to diffuse the tension. But an air of casualness absolutely does diffuse attention. Being aloof is a very powerful tool, but it has to be genuine. And again, it's only going to happen if you remove all the stress. Now, I want to talk about some misconceptions about dating, about love, about how we think of high value men and what you need to bring to the table. So first of all, let's start with love. I maintain that one of the most toxic things that has happened in Western culture is the proliferation of rom-coms. I love romantic comedies. Some of them are great and they make you feel wonderful and they give you hope and they allow you to relive these like wonderful feelings that maybe you experienced at one point in your life. But lazy romantic comedies are not based off any foundational principle, and they are not tethered to real life as far as how men and women interact and what that looks like. And that's one of the reasons they all end when the guy gets with the girl that he's just supposed to be with, because they're the main characters. And don't you know, being the main character means you're the good guy. What you get with a lot of these are just because the person's the main character, just because you have the nice guy that means well and he's looking at the girl he wants that obviously he deserves to have because he's the main character and he wants her. And he looks at all of her poor dating choices and thinks, I know better than you. You need to be with me. And a bunch of stupid shit happens. He's goofy. Maybe he's really relatable. Maybe it's actually off-putting. And when you look back 10 or 20 years, you realize that the main character was a fucking sociopath. But either way, it teaches people that whatever fuzzy feelings they got the first time they laid eyes on some attractive female, that's somehow substantive. Love at first sight does not exist. That is something that is repeated by children that don't know how to deal with the emotions that come with being an adult. When you see somebody for the first time, you are judging superficial qualities. You are judging their look, not just their look, but how they were made up that day. You are judging their scent. You are judging their fashion. You are judging their social status. If you see that they're surrounded by people who are well liked, these are all triggers that are important to represent in some capacity, but it's superficial. It's like judging a YouTube video by the thumbnail or the title rather than by the actual content of the video. So to say that that is somehow meaningful, divine, written in the stars, and that that's what I'm going to base all of my decisions off of, and now I'm going to stalk this person, is absolutely fucking stupid, because you don't know that person. You can't love somebody that you don't know, and that is an extraordinarily toxic mindset. A better romantic comedy, and one that is more substantive and true to life, is one where you have two people hate each other, they have competing interests, they don't get along, and they are shoved in a situation where they have to make do. Oftentimes it's being stuck in a situation where they're fighting for survival. I think of like Romancing the Stone, and where they go from hating each other and there's a lot of banter back and forth, eventually that friction creates attraction. That's a very real thing. And that happens with men too. That's the reason there's so much shit talking in military units and in police forces and in team sports, is because that type of friction actually leads to a type of bonding. So in the process of that friction, you're finding out what the other person's made of. You're getting to know them. You're learning to deal with their barbs and dish it back. And in that process of working through hard problems that you don't have the option of walking away from, you end up forming a bond that leads to romance. That is one of the oldest romantic tropes. It's not done as well today, but that is very true to life. It is so much more likely to result in a good long-term relationship if you have a similar situation where you developed affection for somebody over a period of time than if you took your bullshit about love at first sight and tried to build a meaningful, substantial relationship off of that. Now, similarly to this, you have to get out of your head the idea that we are all trying to find the one, that there is that one perfect person for you. This is more like blind romanticization of kind of mundane real life shit that is very toxic and leads you to making bad decisions. If you go in with the expectation that there is the one, you are going to use that lust you felt in the beginning when you knew nothing about the person to justify staying with them when the relationship has already ran its course. There is not a one for you. There are a lot of people that are potentially compatible, each one that you can potentially build a life and a relationship with through shared values and a commitment to growing something greater than yourselves. And of course, this all takes us back to why dating strategy is so important to begin with and learning how to socialize, because it is a numbers game. I mean, for one, the more women you engage with, the more likely you are to get a date, but also the more dates you have over a long period of time, the more likely you are to find sincerely compatible partners that do have the same values and are on the same wavelength. So now we're going to talk about the minimum viable product for a man. Now that we know what it is that we're going after, how to frame dating to begin with, now we're going to ask the question, what do we bring to the table? So the minimum viable product for a man, it is not this red pill high value man bullshit that has been promoted for the last several years. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being competitive and wanting to improve yourself. But if you turn that economic dial up to 11 and you don't have any of these other qualities taken care of, the only partner you're going to attract are prostitutes or gold diggers. So that's just going to lead you to complete this cycle of bitterness and resentfulness because you've decided to follow through on a strategy that only attracts one type of partner in order to be competitive. Now, the truth is everybody operates in their own different strata. Part of it is economic, part of it is geographic. It might be educational if you're in college versus if you're somebody who gets out of high school and starts working right away. It can be the job you have. It could be your church communities. There's so many different layers of engagement that you can have with other people. And for many of you, the problem is you just don't have any engagement. And that's the first thing you need to fix. So when you're looking at all the other guys around you, you can think, what are they doing that I'm not? What can I do right now to level my game up, to increase my chances of somebody giving me the time of day? And then if they do give me the time of day, of increasing the chances that they stick around. Now, all you need to do to stand out as a dude, to be seriously considered as a reliable partner, thing number one is to have gainful employment. This isn't just that you make money, although that's important. This is to show that you get out of the house for 8 hours a day, that you can be somewhere on time, you can answer to a boss, interact with coworkers, and that at the end of the day, they don't want to kill you. There's a bit of social status that comes with it. And it's not even about having a really, really good job, although that becomes more important as you try to date outside of your economic pool. Just showing that you have a job, it can connect you to a broader community of people, and that can be really valuable. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's an office job, if it's entry level. When I worked at grocery stores, when I worked as a delivery driver for Domino's, I witnessed plenty of people setting themselves apart from the people around them just from the fact that they had somewhere to go every day. And this is especially true if you live in a low income area. It's one of the easiest ways to set yourself apart from other people that may not be on the best path is just have a job. Hygiene. Now, everybody watching this is going to think that their hygiene is just fine, and like 7% of you are going to be the stinky guys at your place of work. So stop what you're doing. Go ask the 3 people that spend the most amount of time around you, hey, do I ever have like a stink? Is there ever a time where like my deodorant like craps out halfway through the day, or where like you kind of smell my breath? Because what you're going to want to do, assuming you are that guy, and you very well may be, you're going to want to go to the dentist, get those cavities filled so you're not breathing halitosis in somebody's face while you're trying to go in for that goodnight kiss. You want to make sure you double up on deodorant. You want to make sure you shower every day. Twice a day, perfectly fine. When I'm training throughout the day in this humidity, sometimes I shower 3 times per day. And then thirdly, and most important, something that looks like ambition and a plan. No, you don't need an actual business plan, but if you have some future to talk about, something that says, I'm here now, but in time, I will be here. It doesn't even matter if it's a simple life. If you just want a family with kids and a job that pays the bills, that is a plan, and that is highly attractive to other people. That tells them that even if you're working a minimum wage job, or even if you're in a low tier place of employment, that you will do what is needed in order to provide for a family, and that you aren't just complacent with what you have now. That is absolutely huge. It can be broad, but it's something that needs to come up in conversation. It's something you need to sound passionate about. That goes so far, it's not even funny. So taking those 3 things, minimum viable product. Over here, we have this separate thing, and that's your social skills. And they're kind of competing. The red pill space talks about high value man, and they emphasize everything on that minimum viable product, except they think it's all economics. It's all your job. It's all your status. They have their stupid sayings, muscle, money, game, frame. I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not have a personality, if you can't talk to people, maybe you don't care, maybe you just don't know enough about what to ask them or how to keep the conversation going. If people mistake you for having like a personality disorder or being on the spectrum, that's a problem. You could be jacked as shit, make $1 million, and still you're going to have to pay for girls to be around you. At the same time, I have known dudes that were borderline homeless, people that defy every standard you would set for a guy that does well with girls, who were just neck deep in it. And the things that they had universally was some social prowess that the average dude doesn't have. These are learnable skills, and that's the most empowering thing I can tell you. Learning how to talk to people. Again, you take the pressure down, know that you have to engage with a lot of people to build this skill, and you start looking at your daily interactions through that light. Over time, you can foster that skill, which is going to increase not only how many people you talk to, but how well those conversations go, which is going to make it a guarantee that eventually you come across a partner. Now, your job isn't to maximize any one of these. Your job is to spread these qualities out evenly, as long as you have some employment, some plan, basic hygiene, and are basically able to hold a conversation without making it about you. If you can inject a little humor, you don't have to make them die laughing. Your jokes don't even have to land. It's just a signal to the other person that you don't take yourself seriously, that you are not going to fall apart if somebody insults you, that you are not wildly insecure, that you can relax a little bit. And all of that is extremely powerful. So if you can spread those things over those qualities, you're going to be made in the shade. So now let's get into the meat. This is why you're here, the strategy. So firstly, I'm going to tell you that everybody has different mountains that they can rule. You want to play to your strengths and you want to be where you're comfortable. This is also why you want to try to prioritize different social engagements. The era we live in, it is too easy to find groups. It is too easy to find places you can go to interact with people in a social way. You need to prioritize it if you don't have it right now. So I use dating apps. Dating apps are easy. I did better when I knew that we were there for the same thing, instead of having to guess like, oh, do they like me? Are they going to be receptive if I ask them out? Taking that stress away, two people are on a site for the same purpose. You can engage, get a yes or no, and by the time you meet up for a date, it's like, it's agreed. This is what we're here for. So it took so much pressure off me, and that was a game changer. I was actually able to like present myself in a positive light. The first thing is what platform you're on. If you're on Tinder, if you're on a hookup app and you're complaining because the dating scene's so messed up, that is not a dating app. You need to get on something where there are profiles that you can read, that have a lot of pictures, that have information, where you can freely message people. That's what you want to do. If you haven't had success on a free version, use a paid version. People take them more seriously. There's going to be less horny dudes to elbow out, so standing out is a little bit easier. If you're not willing to pay a membership for it, then I can only assume that it doesn't mean that much to you. It's not that important to you. But that is one option. Now, what you do is you make it homework. Again, if you're not willing to dedicate the time to do this, I can only guess that it's not that important to you. And that's a different thing than saying, I can't do it, I'm locked out. Those aren't the same thing. So, one, you go and read through profiles of people that are in your demographic, that live around you, and you read as many as you can. On a nightly basis for about an hour, minimum of 5 messages a night, you want to ask a question about something in their profile. I always start with an observation, and I relate it back to myself. Oh, you have basset hounds. That's so cool. I had basset hounds as a kid. I'm a dog person as well. And then you can ask a question. Leave it on a question. That's just going to increase the odds that they engage with you. And over a period of time, that's going to start a lot more conversations. Also, showing that you read the profile is going to set you light years ahead of all the other idiots that just type in sup or WYD, or they give some type of like corny, hacky, or really ghetto come on. Like, showing a little bit of effort goes a long way. So do that for an hour every night. At the end of a week, you should have a couple of conversations going. That should give you hope. Rack up enough conversations, and if they go well, not within 5 sentences, if they go well over a couple of days, say, hey, do you want to get coffee? Don't ask them to the fucking rodeo. Don't offer to take them to Disneyland. Don't offer to take them on vacation with you. So that's really it. It's dealing with the numbers game. It's sending out the messages, personalizing the messages in a way that most idiots online don't, showing that bit of effort that makes you stand out, and then eventually pacing just long enough where you don't come off as desperate, where you can establish that you have a good rapport with somebody before you ask them to engage in a very low stress, low stakes engagement to meet in person and to talk. Again, when you meet in person and you talk, you are not there to plant your seed. You are not there for this like manic search for the one. Take all the pressure off. You were there to talk to somebody. Think of it as a play date. You're a toddler on a play date. You were there to get a feel for what it's like to be around other people and refine that skill. And if you guys have some things in common, if you vibe, if you pick up on each other's sense of humor, that's fantastic. There's a pretty good chance that you might not, and that's okay too. Now, I could go on and on. I don't want to turn this into a dating channel, but I thought that there were some good tidbits in here that maybe some of you guys could use. Let me know what you think. Have you had success? Is it a nightmare out there? Is it just too hard for a good dude to meet a good girl? Let me know. Maybe you're on the red pill shit and you think I'm full of shit. Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.